Today's lesson is going to be on inequalities. Students will be able to apply previous knowledge of inequalities in order to solve real-world problems. So let's review. These two symbols you have seen before. The first symbol is called the greater than symbol. The second symbol is called the less than symbol. Sometimes you have heard it as the Pac-Man was eating the bigger number, or you might have seen it as the alligator likes to eat the bigger number. Whichever way helps you remember it, the opening is faced towards the larger number. So, we have some new vocabulary terms. These use the combination of both of these symbols. The first symbol is the equal sign. The second symbol is the greater than sign. If I were to take the greater than and the equal and place them together, it creates our new symbol. And our new symbol is referred to as the greater than or equal to symbol. Same thing applies to my less than and my equal sign. I take my less than symbol and I combine it with my equal to symbol. We now have less than or equal to. Equations, which we have talked about before, will only have a single solution, such as x equals 3. X is only equal to 3. But with inequalities, they will have an infinite amount of solutions. Remember, infinite means as many as possible. So if I have x is less than 3, then there are an infinite amount of numbers that we can put in place of x. So today we're going to work on trying to figure out what numbers those could be. So here's how we would graph an inequality. 3 steps. First one is we read the inequality, determine the dot, and we highlight the possible solutions. So our first example here is reading our inequality. We have our first letter right here. Then we look at the inequality symbol. Remember, the opening is to the bigger number. So that means that this is going to be greater than our second number. So we would write this symbol, this inequality, as x is greater than our number 4. Good. Now we're going to look at an example with one of our new symbols right here. We have our x, we have that new symbol. Remember, the opening is facing the bigger number, so we read left to right. So x is less than or equal to our number 6. So we have x is less than or equal to our number 6. We have to combine each parts into our statement. Now that we have gone over 2 practice problems, I want you to attempt to write out each of these 4 inequalities. Read them. Remember, read them left to right. Don't forget that the opening is towards the greater number and the point is towards the smaller number, and fill that in. You may pause the video at this point. So now that you have worked on the practice problems for reading the inequality, now we're going to work on determining the dot. So determining the dot is a little confusing. When I look at a question statement that we have here, 2 plus 2 equals, we have our multiple choice. We have A is 3, B is 4, C is 5, D is 2. If I put A, is 2 plus 2 3? Nope. So I'm not going to bubble in A. Is 2 plus 2 4? I believe so. Obviously it is. So I'm going to bubble in answer B. Is 2 plus 2 5? Nope. Is 2 plus 2 2? Nope. So my answer is B, and I have bubbled in that answer. That tells me that 4 is a solution. So I'm going to bubble in 4. That same process will come into play when we're graphing our inequalities. We do not bubble in numbers that are not solutions, but we fill in numbers that are solutions. So I want you to keep that in mind. We're going to go over the type of dots you will see for each of these inequality symbols. So our greater than symbol is going to have an open dot. Our greater than and equal to symbol will have a closed or shaded in or highlighted dot. And the reasoning we shade in is because it has that equal to. Remember on the previous page, we circled in or we shaded in the answer that was equal, that was a solution. Same thing applies here. If it's equal to, then it means that it is a possible solution. Our less than symbol is going to have an open circle, and our less than and or equal to is going to have a closed circle, or shaded in or highlighted. There's many different ways you might hear it. Okay? Here's an example of how we determine the dot and how we place it on one of our number lines. So we have the inequality y is less than negative 3. We're going to look at our negative 3 on our number line. Let's find it here. Start at our 0, move 1, 2, 3 to the left, and we have our negative 3. Because we have a less than symbol, we're going to have an open circle on my negative 3. Remember, because it doesn't say equal to, we have an open circle. If my inequality was y is greater than or equal to 2, we look for number 2 on our number line, and because it has that equal to sign, we're going to place a closed circle on that number 2. At this point, I would like you to go ahead and practice with these 4 inequalities. You might remember these are the same inequalities when we read it out loud. So at this point, you have read the inequality. Now we need to determine the dot that's used. Use the number lines on your note sheet to answer these 4 inequalities. You may pause the video at this point. Good job with determining the dot. At this point, we're going to talk about the third and final step in graphing an inequality. This step has a lot more to it. We're going to put all 3 skills together in order to highlight the correct solutions. First, we need to read the inequality. I have x is greater than 1. Remember, this does not have an equal to section, so it's only greater than 1. So we need to determine the dot. Our greater than symbol has an open dot. Open dot. So I look at my number 1, I create an open dot. Now we need to determine which side of my number line we need to highlight. So the way I do that is I need to select a number from each side of my number line. Let's pick number 4 from the right side, and I always try to select 0 from my left side or whatever side 0 is on. So we're going to put 4 in place of my x. 4 is greater than 1. We're going to put 0 in place of my x too. 0 greater than 1. So as I read 4 is greater than 1, is that true? Is 4 greater than 1? Yes, that is a true statement. Is 0 greater than 1? No, that's not a true statement. So just like when we bubbled in our answers, we want to highlight or shade in all of our possible solutions. So when I shade in all of our possible solutions, I'm going to shade the side that has the number we selected. So I'm going to shade in the right side of our inequality. Now we're going to try this with our symbol that has our equal to. So we read this aloud. Y is greater than or equal to -2. Remember, this is our greater than and equal to sign. We have our -2. So because it is greater than or equal to, what kind of dot will we place on our number line? Good, a closed dot. And it's closed in because our solution could be equal to. So at this point, I find my -2 on my number line, and I put a closed dot. Now we need to go about highlighting our solution, highlighting the correct side of my number line. So I'm going to pick a number from both sides of my dot. Remember, I always say it's good to pick 0. For this one, we're not just going to do one test. We're going to do 2 tests for both sides. So I look at my 0. I have 0, and I'm going to split these 2 symbols apart right here. I have 0 is greater than -2, and I have 0 is equal to -2. This will always help me out because sometimes our numbers will be equal to and not always greater than or less than. So we want to test this out. And then I'm going to pick a number from my left side. Let's pick -4. So is -4 greater than -2? And is -4 equal to -2? So we're going to go ahead and test it out. So let's see. Is 0 greater than -2? Yes, it is. Is 0 equal to -2? No, it is not. So let's test out my -4. Is -4 greater than -2? No, it is not, because it is to the left side. Remember, as we move to the left on our number line, our numbers get smaller. Is -4 equal to -2? Nope. What we're looking for here is one of our numbers, one of our test numbers, either 0 or -4, that has a single correct solution. So when I look at this, I see that 0 is greater than -2 is a possible solution. Well, in this grouping, there is no possible solution. So -4 is not a possible answer. Well, 0 could be one of our possible solutions because it has one correct. So because that's the case, we are going to take our number line and we're going to shade in the side that has the possible solution. This means that every single number that we have shaded in is a possible solution. At this point, what I would like you to do is I would like you to complete these 4 practice problems. Again, these are the same practice problems from step 1 and step 2, but now we are putting all of those skills together and graphing it all on a number line. You may pause the video now and complete these 4 practice problems. Once you have finished the practice problems, you may move on to the exit ticket or workstation. If you would like Mr. Rudy to check your practice problems, please raise your hand now. If you feel comfortable enough, you may move on to the exit ticket. Remember that exit ticket can be submitted as many times as you need to in order for you to feel comfortable with your work. Don't be afraid to ask questions when you're on the workstation, but remember the exit ticket is independent. I want to know what you have learned. Good luck.